So this is a sketch I'm working on after watching Daredevil. And while I may mention some stuff that may be spoilerific, I'll try not to spill it. Daredevil series is going on right now on Disney Plus, and I think they're up to episode 3, which I just watched. And one of the things that I enjoy about this series is, and this is something I enjoy with what Marvel's been doing in general, is that they really look at the comic book series as what they have put in the past, and they use it as a template. Not everything can be accurately depicted as it is in the comic book. Number one, and this is why I think comic books in general are superior in being able to lay out the stories. And, I think what Marvel has done is learn to use that as a template. But it is, in the comic book, you don't have any kind of budgetary restraint as far as how far you want to take your imagination. Your pencil and your imagination is limitless. Whereas, whether it's the point that technology is not at the level that you need it to be, or the amount of money it would take to put together a certain scene in space or anything like that, or to simulate that, is incredible. But I always understand that they have to take certain necessary. Now, a lot of times, whether it's due to cost constraints, limit of imagination, or just artistic license, they make some dumb moves. And they make some interesting, to say the least, detractions from the law. The lore, L-O-R-E. And case in point, Disney and Marvel was a beautiful marriage in that it allowed us to have a little bit more money in the coffers for the movies and to be able to do what we need to for the suspension of disbelief. But it's always been the story for me. It has to be the story. And in taking and adapting the story of one of my favorite characters, and I will let you know that this favorite character is because it's one of my favorite creators, and because he's Puerto Rican. And being that I'm a New Yorican myself, this really struck a chord with me. And yes, I'm talking about the white tiger. So this season of Daredevil, the Daredevil Reborn on Disney Plus, is taking off from the last season on the Netflix show. And it's about roughly 10 years apart. Real time-wise. I don't know if it's 10 years apart, their time-wise. But they're taking over from the same thing, which is also good, because there was a lot of uncertainty. And one of the biggest problems I see with the TV series right now is just the amount of information, the internet, everything, all of us talking crap about it. We're judging and debating, and people making out leaks and making, myself included. We're all trying to figure it out. And that kind of detracts from the actual show itself, because people are working on it and they can't adjust to everything, all our whims and everything that we say and all our critiques, even before we see it. So I think I have to applaud them in that they really kept things to the vest, which I expect with Marvel and Kevin Feige. So what happens is they're taking over from that point and then moving it ahead. And they are adapting a couple storylines. So I'm not going to address what's on the TV right now. Only to say that I'm very happy with what they're doing. Number one, it seems organic and real, and it builds on the tension between the two antagonists, Daredevil, Kingpin. And everything else is, again, their whole lives is, I guess, the collateral damage of what happens between their battle between each other, and their battle to find themselves. And I can think of no better allegory or representation of what's going on in the world today than what's happening in Daredevil. Because truly, we are all, right now, in a battle to find out the soul of America and whether we're going to stand as a democracy or not. That being said, one of the toughest storylines I dealt with in Daredevil, and I'm a big Daredevil fan. My father was a big Daredevil fan. It was one of the first comic books he gave me to help me learn to read, and it just blew my mind. And all the acrobatic antics and stuff like that is incredible. I even took gymnastics in school so I can do stuff like Daredevil, because I can only do so much on the fire escapes in Brooklyn. But I digress. With this storyline that Brian Michael Bendis, I love him as a writer. I think he did a wonderful job on Daredevil, and I collected his whole run. But I was angry with him for a long, long time, because he did a storyline where they killed the White Tiger. And the White Tiger is the first Puerto Rican superhero, and the only one for quite some time. Before we had Miles Morales' Spider-Man and everything, which Michael Bendis did. He was co-creator for that. But they killed him off in a storyline similar to what you're going to see in the movies, in the show. But he died where he was helping someone, but it looked like he was robbing a TV. And to me, that was the biggest slap in the face. Here is the first Puerto Rican superhero. And yeah, he was down on his luck, and he was facing a lot of problems and everything else. And again, that makes for good drama. And that's what you need in a book. But the fact that he took him out of obscurity and made him die looking like a common thief was, to me, a slap in the face as a Puerto Rican. And I really was upset with him because of that. Because, you couldn't have him go out in a big fight or anything like that. And then we had to rely on Matt Murdock to clear his name. That ruffled my feathers. They never gave him the respect. They never gave him the honor that he deserved. I like where they took the storyline and then they evolved into his niece and family carrying on the tradition and blah, blah, blah. But again, now they mixed the Puerto Rican with South American, and again, continue to dilute the essence of the Puerto Rican hero. And that really upset me. I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen in this storyline. They take it and they adapt it to their own. And it's going on still. But I like how they're using the same kind of framework to introduce not only the continuing conflict between Daredevil and what's going to be coming up in The Punisher, I believe, but also to address a lot of issues that you see in the world today. Oops, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I wasn't in spraying. Such as when we talk about vigilantes and police. I am a firm believer in supporting the police, but I do not give my support blindly to anyone. You must earn that respect, and you must continue to deserve that respect. I don't support bad cops. I don't support bad people. I don't call for their crucifixion either, but I do look to make sure that the justice and the law, the rule of law, is followed, and that we apply it equally and justly. I believe in justice. I believe that while we make mistakes, there's a common goodness to man and an opportunity for people to make amends within a limit. You can't replace somebody's life. You can't take back certain things. And with this storyline, I believe that Marvel and Disney has started to make amends for what they did to my white tiger. To the white tiger that was created by George Perez, Puerto Rican artist out of Spanish Harlem, from the Bronx. And they really did him proud. He carried himself like a true hero. And without displaying or talking about what happens in the show, I think their use of Puerto Rican music and some of the iconography, like the coquille and all that, very touching, very tasteful, and you did good. So let's talk about what's in this piece that has been sliding in and out of frame. Watching the show reminded me of some episodes from Daredevil and mostly from Spider-Man. And a lot of people may not know this, but Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, was a Spider-Man villain first. And Frank Miller stole him for Daredevil and made him what he is now. And they just continue to build on it. But the theme that I see going into the background is gang war. And that was a central concept in a lot of the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, and even in some of the Amazing Spider-Mans, where they had the different types of gangs running after each other, and there was always somebody who rose to the top. So in this piece, I have the Kingpin, Doc Ock, who's also a big player in the games. Doc Ock was not only a supervillain, but a mastermind super scientist villain in the background, running his own gang. Of course, the major baddie for the Spider-Man line, Norman Osborn. We have here Silvermane, which was an older mafia in the Marvel Comics Magia, which was the mafia for Marvel Comics, and he basically was tired of having to deal with all these superheroes and supervillains attacking his role, and he was getting older, and so what he did was he had himself cybernetically enhanced. So it was basically like an old man face with a cyborg body, which was, to me, kind of cool. And then over here is going to be Tombstone, which is getting a lot of play in the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon, and in a retelling and restructuring of Spider-Man, which is really good. So, all right, that's what we got for today, and I'm going to be trying to do more from this. We'll see how you like it. Take care. Peace out. And